My cousin invited me and my autistic son to her wedding, then humiliated us in front of everyone at the rehearsal. I walked away quietly, but she didn't stop there. Days later, CPS knocked on my door with false reports. She wanted to break us, but she had no idea how far I'd go to protect my son. You ever have one of those rare moments where everything actually feels right? For me, it was the day my cousin Brielle called and asked if Toby and I could be part of her wedding. I remember sitting at the kitchen table, peanut butter smudged on my hoodie from Toby's breakfast, bills spread out in front of me, wondering how I was going to make rent and pay for his speech therapy. Then the phone rang. "Hey, so I want you and Toby at the wedding," Brielle said, almost casually. I froze. "Wait, you mean like at the wedding or invited to the back row?" She laughed. "No, silly, at the wedding. You can walk me down the aisle halfway, like a symbolic thing, and Toby can be the ring bearer. I think it'd be beautiful." And I cried, not ugly sobbing, just this quiet, surprised kind of crying. Because for once, someone in my family saw my son, really saw him, as someone to include, not avoid. Toby has moderate functioning autism. He flaps his hands, sometimes repeats things, gets overwhelmed easily. And because of that, most people, especially family, treat us like we're made of glass or just too much work. But not Brielle. Not this time. When I told Toby, he lit up like a Christmas tree. "Really, Daddy? I get to wear the fancy clothes and give the shiny ring?" "Yeah, buddy," I said, hugging him tight. "You're gonna be amazing." We spent 2 weeks preparing him, role-playing what the ceremony would be like, showing him photos of the church, practicing with a fake ring box. I even bought him noise-canceling earbuds that matched his little tuxedo. He was ready, Frankie, so ready. The day of the rehearsal, he woke me up at 5 a.m. because he couldn't contain himself. He kept saying, "I'm going to be a hero today, Daddy," like in the cartoons. I smiled. "You already are, kiddo." We arrived early at the church. Toby looked perfect. Tuxedo pressed, hair combed, beaming with pride. I had butterflies too. Not just for him, but for the idea that we were finally being embraced like normal people, like family. At first it was okay. A few awkward stares when Toby started humming during the priest's directions, but nothing major. Brielle greeted us with a quick hug and seemed genuinely happy to see us. Toby handed her a little drawing he made of her in her wedding dress, and she even teared up. But that lasted, maybe 10 minutes. We were about halfway through the practice walk down the aisle. Toby was doing great, walking slowly, holding the pillow, humming under his breath like I told him he could. But then he did that smile. You know the one? The big teeth-showing pure joy kind of smile? He only does it when he's bursting with excitement. He looked at me, smiling like the world was perfect, and I squeezed his hand. Then came the scream, "Excuse me? What is he doing here?" I didn't understand it at first. Brielle had stopped mid-aisle, her face red, turning toward us. She pointed directly at Toby. "Why is he's making noises. This is supposed to be elegant, not whatever this is." Toby froze. I could feel his hands start to tremble in mine. "I thought you told him not to bring him," she hissed at her fiancé, Eli, loud enough for everyone to hear. I stepped in front of Toby, instinctively shielding him. "Brielle, he's just excited. He's not doing anything wrong." Her voice got louder. "It's always about your son, isn't it? Every family event turns into some pity circus. Well, not this one. This is my wedding." People started murmuring. I looked around the church pews expecting someone, anyone, to speak up, to defend us. But no. Most of them were nodding. A few avoided eye contact altogether. I even caught Aunt Lorraine rolling her eyes. And just like that, I felt it. That old familiar burn in my gut. The shame, the humiliation, the reminder that we're not really part of their world. I didn't argue. I just turned to Toby, knelt down and said softly, "Hey, bud, we're all done. You did so well." He looked confused, his smile gone. But we didn't give her the shiny ring yet. "I know," I said, swallowing the lump in my throat. "We're done for today. You were amazing." We left, quietly. No scene, no tears. At least not until we got to the car. As I buckled Toby into his seat, he looked at me with those big, honest eyes and said, "Daddy, why was she mean to you?" And I almost lost it. He didn't even realize she was talking about him. In his mind, he thought she'd hurt me, not both of us. I forced a smile. "She's just upset, but I'm proud of you. So proud." We went home and I told him that the rehearsal was the real wedding, that he did it, that he was the best ring bearer in the world. He believed me. The actual wedding was 2 days later. I got a babysitter and went alone. I didn't plan to stay long, just enough to show face, pay respect. But something in me couldn't let it go. Not after what she did. At the reception, during the speeches, I asked for the mic. People looked surprised, some nervous. I cleared my throat and said, I wasn't going to speak tonight, but I think there's something important that needs to be shared. I pulled out my phone, hit play, and Toby's little voice filled the room. Hi, Brielle. I hope you are so happy today. I think you look like a princess. I hope you and Eli dance and kiss and have fun and eat cake. I love you. You're my favorite cousin. The room went silent, except for a few gasps, a few sniffles. I looked up. Half the guests were crying. Even Eli looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. But Brielle, she was furious. Her jaw clenched, her eyes darting around like someone had hijacked her spotlight. I wasn't trying to ruin anything, I said. Just wanted you to know Toby still loves you, even if you don't understand him. I sat down, didn't say another word the whole night, just finished my drink and left. That should have been the end of it. But 2 days later, there was a knock at my door. A woman in a navy blazer, clipboard, ID badge that read, Child Protective Services. Mr. Lane? She asked. I blinked. Yeah. Can I help you? We received an anonymous report of neglect. Unsafe conditions for a minor. I need to inspect the home and speak to you. I stood there frozen. What? There must be a mistake. I'm afraid not. We have to take every report seriously. And just like that, my world cracked wide open. She walked in and started taking notes. Why is there plastic on the furniture? Toby has sensory issues. Sometimes he has accidents. The plastic helps with cleanup and reduces stress. She didn't respond. Why are there locks on the kitchen cabinets? For safety, some tools and utensils are dangerous if unsupervised. It's standard for autism homes. She kept writing. She walked through Toby's room, noted the mattress on the floor. He has trouble with high beds. It's a sensory thing. No acknowledgement. Then she looked at me and said, We'll need to place Toby with a relative for now, just until we finish the investigation. I felt my knees buckle. What? No, please, he needs to be here. This is his home. I'm sorry, sir. You'll have visitation, but until we clear the allegations. I barely remember what happened next. I called my mom, Toby's grandma, to take him in, but they said she didn't meet the emergency placement guidelines. Said it had to be someone already on the approved contact list. They took him, just like that. And as I stood in the doorway of my own home, his toys scattered on the floor, his blanket still on the couch, I realized something. This wasn't about Toby. This was Brielle. Her wedding didn't go the way she wanted, so she lashed out the only way she knew would really hurt, and she succeeded. But if she thought I was going to let this stand, she had no idea who she just messed with. I don't remember the drive home after they took Toby. It's strange how the body moves when the mind is somewhere else, somewhere far darker. I sat in the driver's seat, hands gripping the wheel, but all I could feel was the emptiness in the back seat, the car seat, his favorite plush octopus toy, the faint echo of his laughter from just 3 days ago when he made up a song about turtles and hats. Gone. CPS took him without hesitation, without an explanation that made sense. Unsafe conditions, they said. I begged them to listen, to let me explain the locks on the cabinets, the plastic covers, the low bed, the sensory lights, the routines, the visual aids. They saw a house that didn't look normal. I saw the only home that ever made Toby feel safe. But they didn't care. Bureaucracy rarely does. They handed me a pamphlet and a number to call for visitation scheduling, told me someone would be in touch. Then they walked out the door with my son. The silence afterward was unbearable. But I didn't have time to grieve. Toby didn't need my pain. He needed my fight. So I made a list. Step 1, call Dr. Lynn. Dr. Amanda Lynn had been Toby's pediatrician since he was diagnosed. If anyone could vouch for the care and accommodations in our home, it was her. She answered on the first ring. You okay? I couldn't speak right away. When I finally did, it came out in one breath. CPS took him, said my house wasn't safe. She didn't hesitate. I'll write a statement tonight. I'll call the board in the morning and demand that they assign a neutral third-party evaluator. I'll do everything I can. God, I needed her calm. Step 2, talk to Sasha. Sasha lived 2 doors down, a special education teacher. She and Toby made cookies together every Sunday. She knew what accommodations looked like. More importantly, she respected them. She showed up at my door with a clipboard and 3 printed emails before I even called. "I heard, I'm so sorry," she said. "Here's every documented conversation we've had about Toby's routines, and this," she handed me a typed letter, "is a character reference. I also wrote a breakdown of each accommodation in your home and why it aligns with current disability standards." I blinked back tears. "Thank you." She hugged me. "We're going to get him back." Step 3. Lawyer up. I didn't have a lot of money, but I had one thing going for me. A contact Dr. Lynn once mentioned. Naomi Grant, civil rights and disability law, pro bono cases if the cause was just. I emailed her at 1 a.m., expecting nothing. She called me back at 6:15 a.m. "Doctor," Lynn told me what happened. She said, "I've seen too many cases like this. Families ripped apart because someone in a suit doesn't understand neurodiversity. I'll take your case." That was the first time I felt like I could breathe again. Naomi met with me that afternoon. She took photos of the house, walked me through everything step by step. "We're going to need documentation, everything. His IEP, school communications, letters from therapists, pediatric records, incident logs, anything that shows a pattern of care." I spent the next 48 hours living in a sea of paperwork, emails, binders, flash drives. I didn't sleep and I barely ate. And through it all, Toby was somewhere else. They placed him in a foster home with autism experience, they said, but I didn't know where. Didn't know who was feeding him, who was reading him bedtime stories, who was helping him with his sensory meltdowns. Did they know to brush his hair with the soft bristle comb? Did they know not to use the lemon-scented soap? My phone buzzed. A caseworker had scheduled a supervised visit for Thursday at a neutral play center. I arrived 10 minutes early. Toby was already there, sitting in a beanbag, holding his octopus plush, but it wasn't his, just a look-alike. He looked up, eyes glassy. "Daddy?" I knelt down, arms open. "Hi, bud." He ran into my chest and clung like he'd never let go again. I held him, rocking gently, whispering, "It's okay, I'm here. I missed you so much." The caseworker tried to redirect him to toys, but Toby wouldn't let go. And when the hour was up and they told us time was over, he began to scream. "No, no, no! I go home with Daddy. I go home now." He clawed at my shirt, sobbing. "Please don't make me stay." They had to peel him off me. My shirt tore at the collar. I left the building and threw up in the parking lot. That night, I got an alert on my phone. Someone had posted in a local Facebook group, Brielle's Town Social Circle, a long, passive-aggressive post about parents who use their kids' disability as a shield for bad behavior. Comments rolled in. Sympathy, rage, accusations. They didn't name me directly, but everyone in that room knew what happened at that wedding. And then came the kicker, Lorraine, Brielle's mother, my aunt. She commented, "So heartbreaking. Some people shouldn't be parents. Thank God CPS is finally stepping in." It all clicked. Brielle didn't just want Toby gone from her wedding. She wanted him gone from my life. I showed Naomi. Her eyes narrowed. "This is character assassination. It shows intent. And if we dig, I bet we can prove this wasn't just one report. I'm going to subpoena the call records and anonymous tips." 3 days later, she called me with news. There have been 4 calls to CPS. All came from different numbers, but 2 of them tie back to a landline registered to Lorraine's business. Another used a burner, likely Brielle. And the kicker? "What?" I asked. "Eli, her husband, he just emailed me." Eli, who'd looked gut-punched during my speech, who hadn't said a word since. He sent Naomi a screen recording from his phone. It showed a text thread between him and Brielle the day after the wedding. "Brielle, he embarrassed me in front of everyone. Brielle, he wants to play Parent of the Year? Fine, let's see how he handles CPS up his ass. Brielle, Lorraine's making the call. I'll back it up with my old college friend. Trust me, he won't know what hit him." I felt my knees give out. Naomi didn't blink. "This is gold. With this, we'll crush her credibility." The court hearing came a week later. I wore the only suit I owned. Naomi came armed with folders of evidence, a witness list, and the video from Eli. Brielle showed up with her signature smirk and an overpriced attorney. The judge was stern, a no-nonsense woman with gray streaks in her hair and eyes like flint. She read the case file, listened to opening statements, then invited testimony. Dr. Lynn spoke first. "Toby's home is safe, adapted to his needs, and medically necessary. The accommodations listed as hazards are standard for children on the spectrum." Sasha spoke next. She described Sunday cookies, Toby's progress, and our routines. Then Naomi played the video. The courtroom went silent. Brielle's face went pale. Her lawyer tried to dismiss it as venting, but the judge wasn't buying it. This is clear retaliation. That undermines the credibility of every report your client was involved in. I didn't win full custody back, not yet. CPS still wanted follow-up evaluations, but the judge ordered Toby to be moved from the foster home immediately. He was placed with my father, Walter, pending final review. I got daily visitation rights with supervised overnight stays possible within 2 weeks. It wasn't over, but it was a step forward. When I picked up Toby from the center to take him to Walter's, he wrapped his arms around my neck and said, "We go home now." "Soon," I whispered. "I promise. Soon." You ever watch someone unravel right in front of you? Like piece by piece, layer by layer, until the lie can't hold its shape anymore? That was Brielle. But before that moment came, I had to survive weeks of more hell. Toby had been with my father, Walter, for about 10 days when the caseworker assigned to us, Miles, called. His tone was different now, warmer and less robotic. "I've been reviewing the footage from the visitation center, Mr. Lane, and I've read the statements from Dr. Lynn and the evaluation notes from Sasha and Ms. Grant. I'd like to schedule a follow-up home visit." "Of course," I said, holding my breath. "Anytime." We set it for Friday afternoon. When the day came, I cleaned every corner of my apartment twice, made printouts of Toby's routines, photos of us cooking together, copies of his therapy reports. I even left out the dinosaur sticker charts he loved earning stars on. Miles arrived on time, clipboard in hand. He wasn't alone. "This is Dr. Torres," he said, a state-certified child development specialist. She was calm, walked through every room, asking questions, taking notes. When she stopped in the kitchen, she looked at the cabinet locks and said, "Good, these are the same we recommend for impulse control." "Nice work." I nearly collapsed in relief. After 2 hours, she nodded and said, "This home is safe." Thoughtfully adapted. Frankly, it's better suited for a neurodiverse child than most. Miles glanced at me. "Thank you for cooperating so fully. This puts us in a strong position to recommend reunification." It should have been the moment I could finally breathe. But 2 days later, I got a call. More reports again, this time not anonymous. Lorraine, my aunt, Brielle's mother. She accused me of keeping Toby in a hoarder house and feeding him junk food for every meal. She even claimed he was inappropriately exposed to adult media because she saw a romance movie DVD in my trash bin once. It was absurd, borderline delusional. Naomi was furious. "This is harassment, coordinated and malicious." She sent Lorraine a cease and desist letter by certified mail. We also filed a formal complaint with CPS for repeated false reporting, but it didn't stop. The next hit wasn't legal, it was personal. Brielle showed up at my apartment, unannounced. I opened the door and froze. She was wearing sunglasses like she was famous, standing there with her arms crossed, like she had some moral high ground left to claim. "What the hell are you doing here?" I asked. "I'm here to talk," she said, "face to face, like adults." I nearly laughed. "Adults don't weaponize child services." She brushed past me before I could stop her. "You know," she said, wandering into my living room like she owned the place, "this whole circus you've started, it's pathetic. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. You screamed at my autistic son in a church full of people?" "I set boundaries," she said. I stepped forward. "Get out." But before she could reply, there was a sound behind me. Small feet, a soft voice. "Why are you yelling at my daddy?" Toby came out of the bedroom, wearing his pajamas and holding his stuffed octopus. Brielle turned to him. "Toby," she said in that fake sweet voice. "Hi, buddy." He didn't smile, didn't wave. He looked at her like he finally understood. "You're the mean lady." She blinked. "What?" "You made Daddy sad. You made me cry. You're not nice." His voice cracked halfway through, but he stood his ground. "I don't like you anymore." Brielle's mouth dropped open. Then finally, she turned and stormed out. I closed the door, locked it, knelt down to Toby and hugged him so tight I thought my heart might burst. "You were so brave," I whispered. So brave." Later that week, Walter called. He wanted to host a family dinner, not just for food, but for truth. "You need the whole story out there," he said, "and people need to hear it from more than just you." I was hesitant, so was Naomi, but in the end we agreed. It was time. Walter invited everyone, not just close family, but extended too. Aunts, uncles, cousins, even Eli. And they came. We all gathered at Walter's house, the backyard strung with old holiday lights, folding chairs in a wide circle. Toby sat next to me, nervously clinging to his toy. Naomi was there too, quiet, observing, her legal folder never far. Aunt Lucia arrived first. Her daughter Marisol has Down syndrome. She gave Toby a little dinosaur sticker and sat beside us. Then Uncle Henry, quiet, thoughtful, always stuck in the middle. Then Eli. He walked in alone. No Brielle. Everyone murmured when he showed up, and I could see the tension spike. Walter stood up. Thanks for coming. This isn't about drama. It's about setting things right. He handed the floor to Naomi, who gave a concise, no-nonsense summary. She mentioned the coordinated reports, the threats, the texts, the impact on Toby's mental health, the trauma of being removed from his father. Then she played the video, Brielle's texts, the proof. Gasps rippled through the group. Lorraine, who'd shown up late, stood up and demanded the video be turned off. This is private family business. No, Lucia said, her voice sharp. This is abuse. Don't pretend otherwise. Lorraine turned red. It was a joke. You people are so sensitive. Your grandson was taken from his father because you lied, Lucia snapped. My daughter has special needs. You know that. You think I'd ever forgive someone who did this to her? Then Kelsey stood up. Kelsey, one of Brielle's bridesmaids. She looked like she'd swallowed a cactus. I need to say something, she muttered. Brielle told me to lie. After the wedding, said if anyone asked about Toby, I should say he was disruptive, that he pushed over a chair and tried to grab the mic. None of it happened. I didn't even see him do anything. The silence was deafening. Eli stepped forward last. I stayed quiet because I didn't know what to believe, he said. But I saw what Brielle became, and I know now I was part of the problem. He looked at me. I'm sorry. And just like that, one by one, they came to our side. Not all, but most. Lorraine tried to yell over the group, but Walter raised his voice. First time I'd ever heard him shout. Enough, Lorraine. You're done. He pointed to the gate. You and your daughter need to leave. Now. She glared at me, at Toby, then stormed off, muttering about ungrateful bastards. Brielle didn't show. She must have known the tide had turned. That night, we drafted formal agreements. Every family member signed a statement affirming they would not tolerate further harassment. Naomi had it notarized on the spot. It wouldn't erase the damage, but it was a shield, a line in the sand. 3 days later, Miles called. We're closing the case, he said. Effective immediately. Toby can come home. I didn't cry until he said those words. I picked him up from Walter's that evening. He ran into my arms and wouldn't let go. I carried him through the front door, and he said softly, Home smells like pancakes. I laughed. We'll make some in the morning. That night, he fell asleep curled against me on the couch, octopus plush in one hand, his other hand gripping my shirt. I knew it might not be over. That people like Brielle and Lorraine didn't let go easily. But for the first time in months, I could finally breathe. I used to think there was no place for us in the family. Not because we didn't try, but because we were never really seen. Toby was treated like a liability, like a disruption waiting to happen. I was the overprotective dad, always making excuses. That's what people whispered. That's what they believed, until Brielle gave them something uglier to look at. Funny how things change. After the case closed and Toby officially came home, the quiet days felt unreal. No surprise calls, no court letters, no strangers are inspecting our home. Just normalcy, something I hadn't felt in months. Toby adjusted faster than I expected. Within a week, his stimming returned to its usual patterns. His appetite came back. He started sleeping through the night again, hugging his octopus tight. And then, the unexpected began. The doorbell rang one afternoon. It was Aunt Lucia. She had a plate of banana bars in her hand and her daughter Marisol beside her. We thought Toby might want to come to the community center this weekend. They're doing a sensory-friendly movie night. I just blinked at her. She smiled, a little awkward. If you're comfortable, of course. No pressure. Toby peeked from behind my leg. Will there be popcorn? Only the soft kind, Marisol said. And quiet speakers. Toby nodded solemnly. Okay. That was the start of everything. Soon invitations rolled in. Playdates, art classes, even a fishing trip with my cousin Derek and his son. People who'd once looked at us like we didn't belong were now asking, how can we include him? At first I was skeptical, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But it didn't. It was like Brielle's cruelty had woken everyone up, shown them what it meant to reject someone out of fear or ignorance. And somehow, instead of pushing us further out, it brought us in. Eli called next. Hey, he said, just wanted you to know I left her. I didn't ask why. I didn't need to. He continued, I let her get away with too much. But the CPS thing, that broke me. You and Toby didn't deserve any of it. I appreciate that, I said, and I meant it. He paused. I miss the family. I miss being part of something real. You know where we are. 2 weeks later, cousin Derek hosted a barbecue. I wasn't planning to go at first. Crowds still made Toby nervous, and I didn't know how people would treat us now that everything had been aired out. But then Toby asked, "Will there be kids?" "Probably," I said. He looked at me hopeful. "Can I go?" So we went. The moment we walked into Derek's backyard, I braced for stares, but instead I heard, "Toby!" It was Marisol. She ran over and handed him a bubble wand. Then came Derek's youngest, who asked if Toby liked dinosaurs. Someone else offered him watermelon slices and pointed to the trampoline. Toby's eyes were wide with surprise. "They like me?" "Of course they do," I said. And just like that, he ran off, arms flapping, voice rising with joy, stimming freely, without shame. Not one kid laughed. Instead, one asked, "Why does he flap his hands like that?" And Marisol said, "That's just how he shows he's happy." "Oh," the other kid said. "Cool." The sun dipped low, casting warm gold across the yard. Laughter, grilled corn, music is humming in the background, and Toby, barefoot, dancing on the grass. For the first time in years, I sat down in a lawn chair and relaxed. Derek sat beside me, sipping from a bottle. "I'm glad you came, man." "Yeah," I said. "Me too. You know, Brielle's little stunt, it backfired. People saw who she really was, and who you are. I think that matters." I nodded. "Took long enough." He looked out at the kids playing. "Better late than never." At the end of the night, Toby climbed into the car, sticky from popsicles and sweat, and said, "This was the best day." "Yeah?" I asked. "Yeah, they didn't make me feel weird. They liked me." My throat tightened. I reached back and squeezed his foot. "That's because there's nothing wrong with you, buddy. You're exactly who you're supposed to be. If you made it this far, thanks for riding with me. If you love real, messy, emotional stories like this, go ahead and hit subscribe. There's always another confession waiting in the backseat.